Hello everyone, Burb here. I was doing my standard process for way too in-depth guides on Mejiro Bright, trying to get as much stuff as possible in for Mejiro Bright into a single video. Honestly, the way this character's ultimate works allows me to demonstrate a few things about stamina, a few things about how skill durations interact with track length, and so there's a little bit of value here, even if you are not interested specifically in this character. It's honestly an incredibly enlightening character to run. So I hope you stick around. The math will be in the first part of the video. I will let you know when it is all over, so if you're just here for that, I appreciate your time. If you're here for the character itself, this is a standard character guide. I'm going to go through your character. Do not worry. So let's talk about Mejiro Bright. If you're an Oshi player, if this video doesn't convince you to pull for your Oshi, I honestly do not know what will. She's very good on long tracks. That's really all you need to know. She's good on, you can run her anywhere, but long tracks is really where she is great. And Side Games has made her a medium long track horse. You can run her late surger, you can run her end closer, you can force her pace chaser. I don't see much reason to force her pace chaser because of the way her ultimate works. But turf track, any medium or long, late surger, end closer, can run all four positions. But again, longs are her real specialty, and she can work in longer medium tracks as well. For her stat bonuses, an odd set of stat bonuses in 14% stamina, 8% guts, and 8% wit. This sort of means that besides stamina, the other really stat bonuses are just kind of nice to have. They don't really force you one way or the other. So in Make a New Track, I think you're going to be running standard speed, power, wit builds. Otherwise, when you're in your longs, you can just run stamina cards because you really like pressing the stamina button because you have stamina and guts bonus. And the extra wit's going to allow you, if you need to go down to single wit, because you are, let's say, a free-to-play player that doesn't have very good cards and you need 3 speed cards, you can go down to single wit and you'll probably still have about 700 to 800 wit from this itself. So pretty simple character. You can guts max her. She only gives guts bonus. She doesn't help you with the speed or the power at all. That's why I sort of prefer speed, power, wit on her. But you, again, can pretty much gut max any character in this game. Her ultimate, Lovely Spring Breeze. This is where the math is going to start. Lovely Spring Breeze. From the mid-pack in the second half of the race, slightly increased velocity steadily for duration based on remaining endurance. What this is saying is these 3 conditions. Very simple conditions, but the special thing about this ultimate is that its base duration has a special scaling that we will talk about, and it's only a 0.15, which is a white skill level of target speed. For the 50% distance rate, we're going to use her best track, Nekayama 3600 meter stay or stake, which is interesting because she won that one. Basically, all it's saying is that on lap 2 forward, 50% of the way through the race, let's just pick a more manageable track, 2000 meter. Halfway through the race or further along, this ultimate can proc, as long as you also are within 4th through 7th. So you can be in the 4th position, 5th, 6th, or 7th position, anywhere in between these 2 positions, and it will proc on the first timing in which you satisfy both of these conditions. The thing is that the special scaling, it's not just a base duration of 5 seconds. So it's a base duration of 5 seconds, which means that just from it existing, no other special scaling increase, it will have 0.75 distance units, which in comparison to Gold Chip, which has Anchors Away, probably one of the best mid-race speed skills in the game, who has 1.5 distance units, you start out at a half of an Anchors Away, which is not the greatest thing in the world, to be honest. But it's still a mid-race speed skill on an end closer, which is pretty darn good. The thing is that her ultimate scales based on her remaining HP, which is essentially her stamina, that has a bunch of different math that splits it up. So it's calculated by taking 0.8 times her style modifier, which we'll talk about, but it's based on her role, times the quantity of stamina times mood coefficient plus green. So this is just your standard stamina calculation. So if you have 1200 stamina, you have great mood, you have 1.04, and then you add your green skills to that, and then you add your course distance, and this is major. So most of your hit points on any map actually comes from course distance, and this is why gold recoveries on longs and medium tracks are so effective, because they just give you so much base HP. We'll go through that as well. So on the Nakayama 3600 meter course, she gets 3600 base HP just on her own. And if you go through a simulator, you find that not using any speed skills, but even with the speed skills, you're going to increase your speed. So your HP is going to be pretty close to the same amount of HP expended, you use about 1790 HP, not including the downhills, to reach 1800 meters. Now the downhills have somewhat of a okay effect of about 100 HP, but it's not going to matter for this calculations, as we find out later. And the thing is that based on the actual duration of the 3600 meters, we have 1810 base stamina, which immediately places us almost right at the mark, the threshold for 1.5x on its own. This is at 0 stamina. This is without any stamina increase, and obviously you're not going to survive the race for 3600 meters with that. And depending on the actual track length, you find that your free HP, as I like to call it, is going to be anywhere between 700 to 1800. So as the base HP that is increased from the track length increases, the expenditure does not increase at the same rate, which means that Mejiro Bright gets more HP for free based on the level of distance. Now, notably, in the long and medium tracks, you get between 1600 and 1200, and that'll be important here in a bit. So we have our course length. Now we do our stamina calculation. So if we max our stamina, which on this character I think you'll want to get fairly close to max stamina a lot of times, or you can go down and supplement with gold recoveries, which we'll talk about. But if you are at max stamina, you're at 1200 times your mood coefficient of great plus 40, and you find it's like 1280-ish. And then we're going to run her in the end closer position because I think that will be her strongest position. You can run her in late surger. You just increase this by a few points. It's also not going to matter, and you multiply it by 0.8. And you find that if you max out your stamina, and this goes for any horse actually, you max out your stamina in the end closer position, you have 1025 stamina HP added to your base 3600 in this case, or it could be 3200 in the current Pisces Cup. No matter what your horse is, your actual stamina that you're increasing is only 25% really of what is actually your horse is actually getting from HP. So that is why the track length kind of determines a lot of what your recovery situation is about. So based on your track length and your free HP, and if you max out her stamina, your base multiplier, as I like to say, this is the threshold that she lands in. So in the longest track possible, she lands in the 2.5x immediately. In Pisces Cup, she would land in the 2.2x. In Nakayama 2500, which is the Aries Cup, she lands in 2.0. And so for longs and long mediums, you get about 2.0x. And then in the miles, you're about 1.5x at the start. And then in the sprints, you're at about 1.0x. So that's why her skill isn't very good in shorts and in miles. So the break-even point for Gold Ship is at this 2.0, which is in the longer medium tracks as well as the long tracks. So she basically just has anchors away base if you max your stamina without any additional gold recoveries. And in the long tracks, you're going to want some gold recoveries. So what you basically need at this point, so I have your base HP here. Yep, sorry about that. You basically, every single gold recovery that you add to this is a 5.5% recovery, and all you do is you take this total HP, so the total HP on the 3600 meter is 4,675 HP, and then you multiply it by 5.5%. And so that means every single gold recovery is going to recover you 257 HP. Gonna grab some water, my voice is dying. So yes, multiple gold recoveries. So like right now in the Pisces Cup, 3,200 meters will give you 235 recovery HP. In the next cup, which I believe is 2,000 meters, each one gives you about 170. So it's based off the track length because that is the bulk of your HP that you are grabbing. So in order to get the maximum efficiency, which is a total of 4 times duration for Mejiro Bright's ultimate, on the 3,600 meter, you still need about 2 gold recoveries to hit this, or you get some luck with the downhill, etc. And then really quickly, you're going to find that even in the 2,500 meters, the Nakayama Arimakinens and stuff, it's just completely infeasible to get the maximum amount. So at the maximum amount, however, you essentially have 2 anchors away. And that's actually a lot more than that because of speed carryover, as we're talking about. So it's fun to calculate her theoretical maximum. So this stay or stake, Nakayama 3,600 meters, the longest track in the game. You have a base duration of 5 seconds, times 4.0, which is her modifier of her special scaling, for a base duration of a whopping 20 seconds. It is only 0.15. But skill durations have effective skill durations based on the length of the track. If you notice, the reason I'll talk about this more in like an Umastan video later, skills all get stretched out based on the length of the track, and it's simple. It's just the length of the track divided by 100 is the multiplication coefficient. So in a 3,600 meter track, it's just 3.6 times base. So the theoretical maximum for Mejiro Bright's ultimate is it's just 72 seconds, which is insane. To put this in plain terms, at the end of Sector 12, which is the midpoint of the race, the 50% mark, if you procced her ultimate with the 4x modifier by having 2 gold recoveries, which you would probably need, honestly, on a 3600 track, if it's like heavy or soft, right? If you procced it on the Sector 12, you would get all the way to about 3,265 meters. So you would go from the entirety of the mid-race through the acceleration zone and then halfway, almost 3/4 of the way through the late race, which is insane because you don't actually need this. What you do need is you basically need to get into the acceleration zone, which is speed carryover, which on a 3,600 meter track is actually only at the 2.0x multiplier. That's why this skill is quite strong on longs, because it just gives you it. And so I've done this. This is a lot of information, I know. But on these standard tracks that we're going to run for various champions meetings, so Nakayama 3,600 meters of Stayer Stakes, that's just her special track that she won. That doesn't go, but like the Tenno Spring, 3,200 meter, in order to get 28.8 seconds worth of durations, which is how much you need to go from 50% to the late race, you only need a 2x modifier because it's 10 base multiplied by 3.2 for 32 seconds. And so you hit the acceleration zone just from 2.0x. Now, you may like a little bit of late race speed, and in that case, you might go for the 2.5x. But in general, it's not smart to overstam yourself because you could also just spend money for white skills. Like you could spend skill points on white skills. So pretty much anything over 2,200 meters, Hanshin in particular just has a notoriously small mid-race, so that one doesn't really count. But anything like 2,400 meters and up, Mejiro Bright's ultimate by base is just going to basically speed carry over just from maxing her stamina. That's it. And if you'd rather have gold recoveries and lower the stamina, you can run some of the gold recoveries that come in her kit. It's kind of like you can pick what you want to build this character around, but having 1,200 effective stamina basically just means that you, on the longs and the longer medium tracks, your ultimate will speed carry over. And this is important because this adds about 30 to 45% of the value. So 2.5 distance units rather than 1.5 means you were just a better anchors away that has speed carry over. So you're just going from the 50% mark all the way until you accelerate at max. So even though you only get 2.0 times for your duration, this speed carryover extends itself until you're at max speed, which is around 2.7x on this track in particular. And it's pretty much the same for all the tracks. You'll find that roughly the 2.0 mark is just inside of the acceleration zone. So if you hit the 2.0 threshold, you will speed carry over into what would normally be the 2.5 to 2.7x as well. So it's incredible to just get the speed carry over with this ultimate. And mid-race speed skills on end closers, I cannot stress this enough. They're so powerful because end closers just have such good late race speed that if they're anywhere close to the front runners and the pace chasers, it's just over. Like if they hit their excel, like they hit a straightaway spread on a long, and they're anywhere close to the front runners, that's it. So what they do to balance this out, well, her ultimate inherit is one of the worst in the game, if not the worst. I'm pretty sure they removed the special scaling, but even if they don't, they bring it down to a 0.035, which means it's a whopping 0.1 distance unit. So it's 15 times worse than her base ultimate on its own. 15 times. That's insane. That's worse than Haru Urara New Year's was. So she's not really the greatest of parents in terms of skill ultimate itself. She can still be used as an engine. Okay, so this has been the math portion of the video. If you're only here for this, completely understand. I will talk about the rest of the character. It won't take too long. So you Mejiro Bright people who enjoy the character, let's go and finish it up. So her events in career, she has what I like to call a hard long career. which is similar to Rice Shower's career. You need to win the Tenno Spring, that's the big one, and that is quite hard to do because you do need a lot of stamina. Now, the thing is that you want to build stamina on this character, and she comes with gold recoveries, so it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just, if you're trying to build her for miles and mediums, or miles, mediums, and some sprints, like if you're forcing her, it's going to be hard to get past this place first in the Tenno Spring. Her secret events is that if you just win her Tenno Autumn, because you have to win the Tenno Spring, if you add that to it, you get Inside Scoop, which is a great late race speed skill on longs. Her second secret event is if you run the Queen Elizabeth Cup twice, you get Steadfast, which is a decent medium skill if you're wanting to run her for mediums. If you add the Tazaraka Keenan to her career, you get non-standard distance and a bit of guts and points. And based on the number of longs wins that you have over the course of your career, notably, she runs the Arima Keenan that she's forced to win. She runs the Tenno that she's forced to win. So you're getting the lowest level no matter what. And the Kikuko Show, if you place third or better, if you end up winning that, you end up getting 3 base. And if you run any other long races, you get some additional stats and possibly Passing Pro and Smoking Screen. Long corners is just a great long skill, of course. Passing Pro is actually a surprisingly reliable white recovery because you are probably going to pass somebody somewhere in the mid race as an end closer. And Smokescreen it's a skill. It's not great. Vision debuffs don't really do anything, to be honest. Quite niche. Notably, all these are disabled in Make New Track or Track Blazer. So this will be more for when Grand Life comes out. We'll be doing all these. Otherwise, her events that are not disabled, she has a character event that you have the bottom option for wet conditions. And her costume event is Charming, which is actually the nicest one of the 3 that you can really get. It's better than both Hot Topic and Practice Perfect, honestly, in my opinion. So Charming, the nicest one because you can proc it early and you get Charming. Her skills, we talked about her event skills. Those were in there before, but she comes innately with Pressure, which has its problems, and End Closer Corners, which is good on an End Closer, of course. Pressure has its problems. I've discussed this before because when you are passing somebody, you are winning the game when you hit your spurt. So you want to hit your spurt, and if someone's anywhere close to you, Pressure will clip. Pressure will be eaten by the Excel Zone because, at least partially, because you normally will be passing somebody when you are accelerating faster than them. So it's just sort of the conceptual thing of, hey, when I'm winning, I'm passing people on my spurt. So the times where I'm passing people, I'm not getting full value out of Pressure. That's the problem with it. So it just puts it on a tier below most of the other late race speed skills. Otherwise, she comes with 3 recoveries, 2 of them being gold. I've sort of been persuaded by some other people in comments and on Discords that Indomitable actually is not the worst thing in the world, just because on longs in particular, the mid-race is so long that you are usually vying for positions, so most times you are passed and are passing people quite often, and Indomitable is probably going to proc more often than not. Stamina Eater, of course, you need to be in the back half of the pack. And then of Calm Mind is her sort of unique new addition to the game, in that it is a mid-pack skill, so 4th through 7th, but it's a 0.075 instead of a 0.55, but you do decrease your speed for 1.2 seconds, which honestly is not that much for what it gives you, which is another 0.2 stamina. It's like it's an entire other white recovery on top of the base gold recovery. The notable thing is all 3 of these can proc before the 50% mark because all of these gold recoveries will add to percentages that will affect her ultimate duration. So you can hit threshold by these 3 procking. These could be your 2.5 gold recoveries that it's required for some of those thresholds if you want a little bit more value out of her ultimate. Now the thing is that it's not really smart that if you don't need the stamina to spend like 700 skill points on these gold recoveries when you could just be spending them on speed skills as well. That is why I say that, hey, the longer mediums and the long tracks, her ultimate just speed carries over, and the other ones, I wouldn't bother too much forcing this when you could just be spending money on, or spending skill points on just like straight skills and corner skills that have the chance of speed carry over themselves. This is only a 0.15, so it is just a white skill the whole time. I don't normally talk about this, but it's just kind of funny to me that this new skill of Calm Mind will eventually evolve into a crazy 0.095 recovery, which is almost 2 entire gold skills built into one, which I believe is almost free if you just pick it up. So this is kind of unique to her. It's kind of crazy. So 40 to 80% of the pack. Her CM viability, it's very simple, and that math at the start of the video I think explains most of it. Is the track 2200 meters or longer? If so, her ult basically speed carries over if you hit the stamina requirements. And you don't really have to build too much around her. If you're hitting your stamina requirements, you're getting speed carryover on 2200 meters or longer. There's very few tracks that don't. The longs also just want 1 to 2 recoveries and max stamina anyways, so you're giving up almost nothing in the longs. In the mediums, you're giving up the fact that you are kind of overstamming a little bit, but it's perfectly fine. And again, like I said, it's almost never correct to actually overstam more than like a gold recovery's worth of stamina, because you could just be spending it on more speed. So don't get baited by her ultimate with the increased duration unless you're just having fun and want to watch her ultimate last till the end of the race. It's just fine as a 2.0. It's just more efficient to grab other gold skills. Her affinities. So this is for parent building. The character that she does the best parents with, if you're going for parent trials, is Johnny Musume herself, Special Week. And then from there, you do have Nice Nature, Mambo, Zatona Diamond, and of course, Narita Bryan, who is has the best affinity with everybody. So a couple of options for parents. If you like any of these characters, she makes a very good engine. But like I said, her ultimate is not the best one to grab, so you're using this purely for the affinity and for the skills that you get with her. So take that into notification. So in conclusion, this character, very, very good on longs. I'm glad that it's allowed me to at least share a little bit about stamina, about a little bit more than a standard character guide would. Very good on longs, quite good on mediums. Don't try to overbuild her for stamina. It's just not worth it. It's not efficient. You can just get any white skill for the same cost or better as the gold recoveries. And it's just fine, and you do better. What this character allows you to do is that if you're feeling a little bit iffy on your stamina, you can just buy those extra gold recoveries and be fine, because your ultimate will compensate for duration to give you a little bit of extra speed and bonus for the safety that you allowed. So if you like characters that are safe, Mejiro Bright may be the character for you. Or of course, if you just like the character, you can pick her up. But always remember to make the right decisions, because ultimately, you are the one that determines whether or not you're Mejiro Bright or you're Mejiro Dim. Or that one might have been a little too much.
Throwing flashbang.